The story of Samson found in Judges chapter 14 is both dramatic and perplexing, filled with unexpected twists and profound lessons about human weakness, divine sovereignty, and the subtle dangers of adopting the world's values. As we journey through the text, we discover that the life of Samson, Israel's judge and mighty warrior, is not just a tale of physical strength, but a mirror reflecting the deeper spiritual struggles of God's people. Before we continue, just a reminder to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. By doing so, you'll stay connected and up to date with future content. Now, let's continue delving into Judges chapter 14 and the message God has in store for us. Samson's story begins with desire. He travels to Timnah, a Philistine city, and there he sees a young woman who captivates him. He returns home and tells his parents, "I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife." There's no mention of love, character, or shared beliefs, only appearance. She is simply the right one in my eyes. This phrase, right in my eyes, is more than personal preference. It echoes the repeated refrain in Judges that everyone did what was right in his own eyes. It is a summary of Israel's spiritual drift, seeking what looks good rather than what God calls good. Samson's parents are troubled by his request. They ask, "Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife?" Their objection is not about race or ethnicity, but faith. God had commanded Israel not to marry those who worshipped other gods, knowing that such unions would lead his people astray. Yet Samson, set apart as a Nazirite and destined to begin the deliverance of Israel from the Philistines, is determined to marry into the enemy. He is a leader who shares the values and priorities of the very nation oppressing his people. In this, Samson embodies the spiritual state of Israel itself, set apart, but blending in, chosen, yet compromising. Why is it so easy to adopt the culture's views about what is important in life? The pull is subtle and strong. The world around us offers definitions of success, happiness, and love that are immediate and appealing. To follow God often means to stand apart, to value what seems foolish or outdated to others. Churches and believers can become so eager to fit in, to be relevant, that they lose sight of their distinct calling. We measure success by numbers and appearance, rather than faithfulness and obedience. We pursue comfort and approval, rather than costly discipleship. Yet, in the midst of this compromise, the story reveals a surprising truth. The narrator tells us, his parents did not know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines. God is at work, even through Samson's flawed desires and stubbornness. He is not endorsing Samson's choices, but he is sovereign, weaving even human weakness into his redemptive plan. This is the key to the whole narrative. Everyone acts from their own character, impulsive, self-serving, or fearful. And yet God uses it all to further his purposes. He turns even our missteps into moments of grace and deliverance. Reflect for a moment. Have there been times when God used your flaws, your mistakes, or your less than noble motives to bring about good? Perhaps a failure led you to deeper dependence on him. Perhaps a weakness became the very place where his strength was made visible. God's grace is not limited by our limitations. He delights to work through cracked vessels. As the story continues, Samson goes down to Timnah again for his wedding. On the way, a young lion comes roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord comes upon Samson in power, and he tears the lion apart with his bare hands. Later, he sees the carcass and finds a swarm of bees and honey inside. He scoops out the honey and eats it, sharing it with his parents, but not telling them where it came from. As a Nazirite, Samson is not to touch dead bodies, yet here he not only touches, but eats from the carcass, breaking his vow. He treats his holy calling lightly, casually crossing boundaries meant to set him apart. The feast that follows is another breach. The word for feast in the text is literally a drinking party. And as a Nazirite, Samson is to abstain from wine or strong drink. Instead, he throws himself into the celebration with the Philistines, blending in once again. In the midst of the festivities, Samson proposes a riddle to his 30 Philistine companions, drawn from his encounter with the lion and the honey. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. The riddle is a playful challenge, but the stakes are high. When the men cannot solve it, they pressure Samson's new wife to coax the answer from him. She weeps and pleads, and at last, Samson gives in. The men answer the riddle, and Samson, enraged by their deceit, goes down to Ashkelon, strikes down 30 men, takes their clothes, and gives them to those who solved the riddle. The Spirit of the Lord empowers him, but his strength is used not for deliverance, but for personal vengeance and to settle a debt. Samson's gifts are remarkable. His strength is legendary, his calling unique. But he uses these gifts for himself, not for the purpose God intended. Instead of leading Israel in faithfulness, he is driven by impulse, pride, and desire for revenge. Consider your own life. What gifts has God entrusted to you? Perhaps the ability to teach, to encourage, to lead, to create, to serve. These gifts can be used for God's glory, for the good of others, or they can be turned inward, to build your own reputation, to meet your own needs, to settle your own scores. The choice is always before us. Will we use what God has given us in His service, or for our own ends? The story of Samson is a warning and an invitation. It warns us against the danger of compromise, of adopting the world's values and forgetting our holy calling. It invites us to trust in God's sovereignty, knowing that He can work through flawed people for His good purposes. And it calls us to use our gifts, not for ourselves, but in joyful service to the One who has set us apart. Let us give thanks that God's grace is greater than our failures, and pray that today He would use us, weaknesses and all, for His glory. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to praise our Lord. Type, "Glory to Yahweh," in the comments as a declaration of praise and glory to our Father for His infinite love, mercy, and patience for us. God bless you.